Good noon to everyone. Today discuss about the computer-aided process synthesis. In our previous lecture, આપણે જોયું optimum approach temperature with example. હવે જોઈશું આજે આપણે super saturated for minimizations of annual cost. Okay, this is a derivation part of the network super saturation for a minimization of annual cost. Okay, then multiple utility design problem જોઈશું આપણે. તો સ્ટાર્ટ કરીએ આપણે superstructure for minimization of annual cost. First of all, the discussion part. Thus far, emphasis has been placed on a two-step procedure. Okay, introduced in section 10.1, in which heat exchanger networking systems are designed initially to have the minimum utilities. And again, some process flow diagram also. જે આપણે જોઈશું this one. Okay, two-step strategy for a design of a heat exchanger networking system. Now, okay, thus far emphasis has been placed on the two steps procedure introduced in section 10.1, in which heat exchanger networking system are designed initially to have the minimum utility followed by a reduction in the number of heat exchangers, and this strategy is particularly effective when the cost of fuel is high relative to the purchase cost for the heat exchanger part. Okay, it is also relatively straightforward to implement compared with the strategies. Some processes that have been devised to minimize directly the analyzed cost in equation 10.3, as shown in the previous section part, when solved formally as optimization problems given the delta t minimum જે ઓલરેડી ડેટામાં આપણને આપેલું હશે કે કેટલો ડિફરન્સીસ આવે છે એમાં. જે રીતે આપણે હોટ ફેઝ અને કોલ્ડ ફેઝના ટેમ્પરેચરના એક્ઝામ્પલ જોયા કે બે રેન્જ આવે છે. જે કોલ્ડ ફેઝમાં હોય તો કોલ્ડમાંથી હોટમાં જાય તો શું થાય? વધારો થાય, એટલે +10, અને એના કરતાં ઓછું હોય કે વધારે હોય એ પ્રમાણે આપણે ડેરિવેશન કરવું પડે, કોષ્ટક આવશે એનું. Okay, now as shown in the previous section part, when solved formally as optimization problems given the delta t minimum, the determination of the minimum utilities involves the solution of a linear programming some problems, and the determinations of the minimum number of matches involve the solution of the transshipment some problems in the form of a mixed integral linear programming. Furthermore, solution of a mixed integral linear program, furthermore solution of MILP, mixed integral linear program. Furthermore, this is straightforward using the system for games, even for fairly large system. Then is the second steps, the possibilities of the breaking the heat loops and the stream splitting can be explored using the strategies in section 10.4 ના બેઝિસ પર જઈશું. First of all, the figure 10.30 જોઈ લો. શું છે આપણે? The step-wise strategy for a heat exchanger networking system. This is a flow diagram. Now, what is the first part? Is the delta T minimum temperatures. Which one? Delta T minimum. ये તમને આપેલો છે 10 degree Celsius basis પર. Okay, now the stream utility data constraint this basis. Okay, then which one? Minimization of utilities. એમાં 3 પોઈન્ટ છે: temperature interval method, graphical method, linear programming method. Second one, stream matching. એમાં છે at a pinch point and a mixed integral linear programming ના બેઝિસ પર આવશે. Then the bypass to this reduction part for a reduce the number of heat exchanger, break the heat loops, introduce stream splitting, calculate the analyzed cost for a final networking system. ઓકે, ફાઇનલ નેટવર્કિંગ સિસ્ટમ માટે જોઈશું આપણે. A stream utility, a constraint or a simple basis. Okay, that could be સિમ્પલી યુટિલિટી ડેટા તો આપણે જોવાના જ છે. કન્સ્ટ્રેન્ટ માટે જોઈશું મિનિમાઇઝેશન ઓફ યુટિલિટીઝ, ટેમ્પરેચર ઇન્ટરવલ મેથડ, ગ્રાફિકલ મેથડ, લિનિયર પ્રોગ્રામિંગ મેથડ. ઓકે, એટ અ પિંચ પોઈન્ટ મિક્સ ઇન્ટિગ્રલ મેથડ, લિનિયર પ્રોગ્રામિંગ મેથડ પર. દેન કેલ્ક્યુલેટ એઝ એનાલાઇઝ કોસ્ટ, એના બેઝિસ પર જોવાનું રહેશે આપણે. ક્લિયર? ધીસ ઇઝ અ ગ્રાફિકલી સિસ્ટમ જે તમને બતાવ્યું છે સાનું 2 સ્ટેપ ફોર design of heat exchanger networking system. Again discussion part. Thus far emphasis has been placed on the two-step procedure introduced in a section 10.1 in which heat exchanger networking are designed initially to have the minimum utilities followed by a reduction in the number of heat exchanger. This strategy is particularly effective when the cost of fuel is high relative to the purchase cost of the heat exchanger. It is also relatively straightforward to implement compared with strategies that have been devised to minimize directly the annualized cost. In equations 10.3 basis, as shown in previous section part, when solved formally as optimization problems, given the delta T minimum, the determination of the minimum utilities involve the solution of a linear programming some problem is, and the determination of the minimum numbers of matches involve the solution of the transshipment problem in the form of a mixed integral linear programming. Furthermore, solution of a mixed integral linear programming are straightforward using system like games, even for fairly large system. Then in the second step, there's some possibilities. આપણે ગ્રાફિકલી સિસ્ટમ જોયું છે ઓલરેડી. અગેન જોઈ લે ફરી એકવાર. ફોર અ ફાઇનલ નેટવર્કિંગ સિસ્ટમ છે એડજસ્ટમેન્ટ ડેલ્ટા ટી મિનિમમ from reduce the number of heat exchanger, break the heat loops, introduce steam splitting, calculate the analyzing cost, and the last one is the final network. Stream utility data constraint માં જોઈશું તો આપણે delta T is the minimum part. The minimization cost of a temperature interval method, graphical method, linear programming, stream matching at a pinch point, mixed integral linear programming, reduce the number of heat exchanger, break even the point loops માટે, introduce the stream splitting, calculate the analyzed cost for a final networking માટે, two-step strategy for design of a heat exchanger networking system. For break the heat loops and stream splitting can be explored using the strategies. In the section, this can be followed by the systematic adjustment of the delta T minimum to obtain the heat exchanger networking that have analyzed cost closer to the global optimum. The overall strategy, which is illustrated in a figure 10.3, tends to be less effective when the cost of fuel in a low relative to the purchases. Okay, now first of all the draw this completely flow diagram, then I will discussion part is there. Complete કરીશ. સ્ટ્રીમ યુટિલિટી ડેટા ફોર કન્સ્ટન્ટ માટે આપ્યું છે. આ ખાલી બે સ્ટેપ યાદ રાખવાના તમારે, મિનિમાઇઝિંગ કોસ્ટ યુટિલિટીઝ અને રિડ્યુસ ધ નંબર ઓફ હીટ એક્સચેન્જર. 7 માર્ક્સની થિયરી ઇમ્પોર્ટન્સ છે, જે ટાઈપમાં તમે એક્ઝામ્પલ બી આવી શકે. Now, after breaking the heat loops and stream splitting can be explored using the strategies. In a section 10.4, this can be followed by the systematic adjustment of a delta T minimum to obtain heat exchange networking system that have analyzed cost closer to the global optimum. The overall strategy, which is illustrated in a figure 10.30 માં જોયું આપણે, and tends to the less effective cost when the cost of fuel is low relative to the purchasing cost of the heat exchanger. In this section, in this case, a network having the minimum utilities can a large cost of the number of heat exchanger are far from optimal during the past to this formation, perhaps because the cost of the fuel has becomes less of factors. Much research has been directed toward the development of optimization formations that located the global optimum for CA with the decompositions in a two-step strategy માં આપેલું છે, જે મિક્સ ઇન્ટિગ્રલ નોન લિનિયર પ્રોગ્રામિંગ માટે બી છે. ઓકે, સિમ્પલી યાદ રાખજો, ઇન ધેર લોકેટેડ the global optimum CA without the two-step strategy. The most general form the formulations are mixed integer non-linear programming system in involving non-linear terms and the objective function also, for example a raised to 0.7, and in the constraint, for example delta TLM is equal to in a bracket hot phase and a cold phase inlet outlet minus hot phase and a cold phase outlet and inlet friction divided by ln. Hot phase minus cold phase inlet outlet divided by hot phase minus cold phase in outlet and inlet. તો આ ઇક્વેશન્સ તમે ખાસ યાદ રાખજો. ડેલ્ટા ટી એલ એમ LMTD. Okay, while this mixed integer nonlinear programming system can be formulated rather easily, unfortunately the solution algorithms available today in the system, such as games, are limited in their ability to obtain a converged solution, as computational speeds increasing along with the size of computer memories. Algorithms that are more effective are being developed, and more complex and larger mathematical programs are involved. Programs are being solved in these processes. It is beyond the scope of this text to cover in detail the latest approaches formulating this part. And solving for a mixed integral non-linear programming system, instead following the approaches of Flount's 1995 and a superstructure is presented in example 10.15-16. Introduce several aspects of the approaches system. Then the brief review for approaches is presented with the Flount's next referred to for the details. For minimum integral non-linear program, formulations for heat exchange networking synthesis can be solved really by using stochastics optimizations. Lewis at 1998 and Lewis present at approach using the genetic algorithms for the synthesis of large scale heat exchange networking system. Okay. લાસ્ટ પોઈન્ટ છે આપણે મિનિમમ યુટિલિટી ટાર્ગેટ્સ, મલ્ટિપલ યુટિલિટી ડિઝાઇન પ્રોબ્લેમ્સ, એ જોઈ લઈશું આપણે. મલ્ટિપલ યુટિલિટીઝ ડિઝાઇન પ્રોબ્લેમ્સ જોઈ લઈશું એટલે આપણું ચેપ્ટર કમ્પ્લીટલી ઓવર થઈ જશે. ઓકે, this is a simple example part 10.16. Okay, now this is the discussion part is completely over. Thank you so much.